Tech fans, it's time to be up with the white and gold. I'm Jeremy the Impact York. He is GA Tech John Watts. Let's just get this out of the way. How you doing this week?
I mean, it's been a crazy week.
It has been a while. That's what it's been.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yep. No, I in personal life, I got called into jury duty twice this week, so that was fun sitting around not doing anything. I didn't get picked, so that was $50 just to sit in a room.
Hey, 50
Get
bucks is
talking
50
to
bucks.
random people. Yeah. I mean, good talk with some random people and chit chat for a little while. And a couple days off work. So
And of course you told him to listen to Up with the White and Gold.
Oh, of course. Yeah, because there weren't too many Georgia fans in there, so we gotta watch out for them.
I could make a legal comment, but I'm gonna be nice. I promised Georgia fans I would be nice this week.
Yeah, I won't be too hard on you since you do have that other show.
Of course, you're talking about the
But
Kennesaw Owl show, and
yeah, exactly. Who do you? But yeah, outside of that, I mean, the game was, it was not what I wanted.
no.
Kind of slightly expected it. I mean, it is what it is. But well, you can kind of pick out spots that were good, and then spots were bad, and you'll learn from those and move on. But we'll get into that.
Exactly. And as before we dive into the game, if you want to follow this show other than watching us here on YouTube or whichever social media you might have clicked on, we appreciate that. You can search for us on Facebook by searching for Impact Media or Up with the White and Gold. You can look for us on Twitter at Team Impact Media. You just scroll down to Up with the White and Gold or any of our other shows. You can watch as many times as you want. If you want to follow me or John on social media, there's a $5 fee. No, I'm kidding. It's free. It's free to follow us, actually. We do not charge. We probably should. But I am at the Impact 99 on Twitter, Triller, TikTok, and Instagram. And yours are slightly different, so I will let you say them.
Yeah, pretty much for the most part, it's GA Tech John across the board. So I mean, pretty much easier there, or just find my name one way or another. You should be able to do it. And of course, if you follow him, then he usually tags me in it. So you link it from there. So either way, we're pretty good.
And then, of course, you can
Don't
find
get
us.
confused with my Twitter.
I'm gonna leave you alone with your Twitter.
Okay.
But and then of course we are working on the technical glitch. It's weird when you do videos to make them audio. You thought it would be a lot easier to just do that, but we're working on making these all podcasts as well. So if you don't want to look at these two faces that are definitely made for radio, then we are working on getting the podcast form. We may drop 4 episodes at a time, but we're going to get them out. I promise you. So let's get into this game. We were talking a little bit about it before we came on here. Obviously, when you play the number 17 team in Ole Miss, this was kind of what I expected. I agree with you. It's not really what I wanted. I thought it'd be a little closer than this. I actually didn't think. I'm not big on betting on college, definitely not high school, but college sports. I didn't think Ole Miss was going to hit the over. Turns out I was pretty wrong. But 48-23, Ole Miss over Georgia Tech. As far as Ole Miss, let's start real quick. Jackson Dart, he is as advertised. He was only 10 for 18 for 251 and a touchdown, but overall, Ole Miss was averaging like 9.8 yards per play, and you just can't win a game if your opponent's getting 10 yards a play.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we have some categories where we do good, but Jackson, like I said, he only did 251 and one in the air, but he was also their leading rusher with 136 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So really, I mean, he was all around doing well for them, and we just we couldn't stop that run game they had on him. So yeah, it was definitely not good there. So yeah, it's hard to win if you can't contain the quarterback.
Right, and if your last name's Dart, you might as well name your kid Jackson. That's a really cool name. But as I told you, He don't even have the coolest name on his team. He's pretty close, but Ulysses Bentley the fourth. I feel like I want to know that guy, and I feel like our good friend and your good friend from Tech, Albert. He probably knows who Ulysses Bentley the fourth is. He might even know the third, and he probably knows Junior.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a name you hear. I mean, very often. Ulysses. I know it's and outside of that former president we had. It's not a common name. And then
Mm-mm.
Bentley, and then to have at least four of them.
Yeah,
And I mean, Albert knows exactly how that is since he's
he's a fourth as
Albert
well. Yeah.
Whiteside the fourth. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely yeah. They've got some definitely good names over there between the two of them, and then one of the Quinshon Judkins.
That's the next one I was looking at. It's like these are fantastic. Hey, and then not to be outdone because it is such the polar opposite of all those. I got to give credit to Matt Jones. It's probably Matthew Jones, but hey, when you're on a team with Jackson Dart, Ulysses Bentley the fourth, and Quinshon Judkins, you need a Matt Jones in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you got Matt Jones and Caden Davis. Like we got a couple of guys that are just
Yeah,
we're out here doing our thing, but I mean, of
man,
course.
there are some fantastic names on here. But let's get off the names. Like you know, Jackson Dart did run for 136. He threw for 251. Now, of that 251, almost half of that was on four catches to Jordan Watkins, who had 119 yards and a touchdown. So once again, he found a target and he was able to just keep exploiting it. And Georgia Tech just never quite could find where Jordan Watkins was.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely kind of all over the place there. I mean that. I mean, one pass was 68 yards for that touchdown. Um, so 119 yards, and then almost half of his yards will go to Jordan, and half of Jordan's yards are one play. So I
Yeah.
mean, just bombing it in the air. Yeah, we couldn't contain them. That's I mean down there in the fourth quarter when Ole Miss just kind of put the foot on the gas and went with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean we'll get into this in a minute, but this game was only 24-10, just a two score game going into the fourth quarter. And I got to give Georgia Tech's offensive line a little bit of credit, along with their backs and tight ends and such that were good chip blockers. This Ole Miss team, they only had two sacks out of the three of them. Isaac, I think it's Ukwu, he had one by himself, and then Kari Coleman and Jeremiah Jean Baptiste. I'll go ahead and give him the French pronunciation because it probably is. They split one. I mean, this offensive line only gave up two sacks in a game when Ole Miss, as soon as they get up, when they're up that way going to the fourth quarter, you could literally look at your pass rushers and just go, do what you want to do. All hands on deck, go after it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. I mean, it did good blocks, good discipline. I did like the fact that we had not a single penalty during this game. It's been a while since we've done that, and that really helps. When you're not committing stupid penalties.
Mm-hmm.
We all know about how last year went. Um,
And Ole
our
Miss, for
favorite
people that want to, Ole Miss had five. There was five total in the game. So I actually like. I would imagine with them being the home team, Ole Miss, that these were probably SEC referees. So not only is it odd that only five were called, and they were all called on the SEC team, but it was nice to see the referees just for the most part go. We're gonna just kind of let them play. Maybe we pull them aside and kind of go, "Hey, I saw you holding the last three plays. Cut that out, or I'm going to call it." They probably had small conversations because referees actually do that. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to let a game play out, and you
Mhm.
don't want to. I mean, refs don't want to have to control so much of it that you're constantly having to call things.
Well, some of them
So I
do,
mean,
but
I
most of them
definitely.
don't.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I mean, it's good. Lets the flow of the game go. I mean, obviously you got to call obvious penalties, but you know, um, I get that, and it's nice. So I mean, it's good. If that is how it is, it's good. Or I mean, if we were just being good and disciplined and not really committing any, would
Mhm.
also be good. if we can kind of continue that momentum.
Yeah, and you mentioned Caden Davis. He was 2 for 3 on field goals, including a 47-yarder. This is all Ole Miss stats, but that's pretty impressive. If you can kick more than a 45 in college, you're doing pretty good. If you can kick more than 50, you're probably getting drafted.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen players that are really really well kickers in college and do well in the NFL. Shout out to Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you're old enough and watching this, there's a commercial, um, an Oreo commercial, or no, I think it was a peanut butter commercial where the trivia and the guy's eating peanut butter and he can't say the name Aaron Burr.
Mm.
And so it always comes out like, Aaron Burr, Aaron Burr. And every time I think about that, I think about our kicker, and I want to go Aiden Burr, because it exactly comes out the same way.
Sounds like a South
So it
Park
was
episode.
interesting. It probably would be. But yeah, I mean, I want to give a props out to him this week. So he was allowed to put him in this week,
Now, was
and
he the original starter, or he was the guy they brought in, right?
it's got it brought in because
Yeah,
we were
that's
having some trouble last week with the other one.
mm-hmm. And it happens. And sometimes a kicker just gets cold and is not able to warm up much. And if your kicker can't warm up much, you got to put in a kid named Burr.
Yeah, I mean, we all know. I mean, Burger's famous there, and get cold, like you said.
I mean, even though it's a
Or,
different spelling, I mean, he'd be ready for a shootout if it happened.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what we got to do. We can kick field goals all day. Like they do in soccer, penalty kicks. We'll just do field goals.
Exactly. And while we're on him, of all places to start, of course, we would start there. He did kick the his longest was a 22. It's I do like that. He missed another one, but
Yeah.
it's just the opportunity wasn't there a lot of times. A lot of times you saw Brent Key trying to push it a little more, and I appreciate that he was trying to be aggressive and push it, but it just meant less opportunities for Aiden to try to put it in the uprights.
Yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, you got the kick of the touchdown, the extra point there at the end of the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that 22-yard field goal in the second quarter. Kick right when we come in the fourth quarter. We went for two and late in the fourth quarter, so he wouldn't have that opportunity. So yeah, like I said, there was not a whole lot of chances we had to really. I mean, that's what 1, 2, 3, ring plays that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can't kick if your team can't get you down there. So I can definitely
Sure.
understand that. But
It's true.
it happens.
And when you're down big, you're not going to settle for the field goal. You're going to always go for the score.
Yep.
Haynes King. I heard this from Bryce Kuhn, who covers Georgia Tech and LSU and some other stuff. He's a good friend of the show, good friend of mine. We're going to get him on sometime. But he does probably as many shows and media things as we do. So it's kind of tough finding that time. We're going to find time at some point. But, he brought up too that this wouldn't be this close without Haynes King, without Jamal Haynes, the efforts of Trey Cooley and Eric Singleton Jr. It's those are your playmakers on that side of the ball. You have a lot of other really good players that are emerging, but Singleton Jr., Haynes, Cooley, and Haynes King, they're the ones who, if somebody else was in, this might have been 48-10 and not 48-23.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Haynes King is actually leading the ACC in yards, passing yards per game at 303.3. So, I mean, our record may not, go along with that, but yeah, he's definitely one. He's showing why he won the starting position
Mm-hmm.
and keeping us, in those games. If it wasn't for that, taking him out on that second game, he would be 300. I mean, he would literally have 300 yards per game.
I was
I
going
mean,
to
he could
bring
have
that
had
up. If
three
they
in a
would have
row.
just left him in for 3 more plays, and I know he could have got hurt on the next play, but it just, God, he
I
was
mean,
like what 15 yards away. That's like one or two good passes.
yeah, and so I mean, he could be doing 300, but I mean, it's okay, it's fine. Like I said, he's 303 per, averaging 300 over 300 yards per game. So I mean, he's doing well to keep us in there. So he's definitely one of those ones we're going to look at during the season. So
And not to be outdone, he added 42 on the ground and including a rushing touchdown. I mean, that's just part of his game that he's not, he's not a runner, but he's a scrambler. He tries to keep plays alive. And if nothing's open and he's got dirt in front of him, he's going to take it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely other quarterbacks around that are going to be a little bit more of a runner. I mean, we saw that with Jackson Dart. Definitely more of a runner, but he's not gonna. He's definitely gonna make those decisions and run if he needs to. So definitely, it's a refreshing thing to kind of see after things we're seeing over the years that we finally have someone that really works with the system and that we have. Just got to get all the other things going.
Yep. I mean, you knew it was going to be a transition. KSU that we cover is in a similar boat where they're so known for run heavy and that triple option in Georgia Tech's uh, case, and in KSU's case, it was the spread option, which technically is the same thing. It's just got a little bit better wrinkle in it. Same guy, pretty much
Yeah.
making it work, obviously. But
Yep.
what a weird tie that was. But
Not
um,
go handed.
Yep. But as they both transition into slightly more passing to open everything up to do things a little differently for two completely different reasons. One, because KSU is moving up to Division One, and Georgia Tech's doing it because you had such an old archaic system that wasn't working. You needed to kind of get into at least the 20th century, if not the 21st. And it's there's going to be growing pains. You're going to have games that look lopsided like this, but almost everybody that I either talked to or listened say something about Georgia Tech said outside of the loss on the record, 48-23 is not bad to the number 17 team in the country.
No, no, definitely not. It's like I said. I mean, we put up 23 points. Um, and we were, like we said before, I mean, at the beginning, after that touchdown in the fourth quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, we were within a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we could have just held on, we could have gone toe to toe and been a little different. But just it's like, we either let the foot off the gas a little bit, or just I think we've talked off this that they got tired a little bit, maybe in the fourth quarter, and just couldn't finish it out. But yeah, I agree. Definitely, 23 points on a now 15th ranked team. No, I could take that.
I mean, you scored 16 more points than Mercer did in the opening game. And number 24 Tulane, when they took on Ole Miss the week before you, and Ole Miss was number 20 at that point. But the number 24 ranked Tulane, and I could argue Tulane's probably a top 15 team in the country. Tulane only put up 20 on Ole Miss. So you actually scored 3 more points than probably a top 15, top 18 team in the country right now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just unfortunately, with those being 2 losses, you're not going to get ranked. So
No.
we just gotta kind of continue to play, just keep on it, and we just gotta work on having the other team score less points.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Although your defense wasn't bad, it's just I think they just wore out. I think is the way it was. Just three for battling so hard especially in the trenches and trying to keep Jackson Dart from doing way more than he did, and he did so much. I think it just wore out, and the defense finally got tired, and that's when all the points got scored.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I mean, we're gonna have to kind of continue that kind of momentum and keeping those big scores, this upcoming week against Wake Forest.
And you lost, arguably 3 of your best defenders are probably the last decade that are either playing on Sundays or just, not with the program anymore. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. These younger kids having to step in where before they knew they were the backup, or you just knew that Charlie or somebody was just going to be, they were just going to be running everything. So now that those guys are gone, we get to see who the new playmakers are.
Yeah, definitely. And we got a lot of transfers that came in. A couple guys, some new freshmen. So yeah, definitely looks good to see what we can do.
And we will. That does make the Yellow Jackets 1-2, which is still not bad this early on. I mean, a lot of people thought they weren't going to do very well at all. I think they're hanging right where they should. you get a fun matchup coming up this weekend on a really fun place. I'm gonna say the same thing I told you about it. Georgia Tech will be on the road at Wake Forest, who is 3-0, but this is a winnable game. 6:30 kickoff this Saturday on the CW network. You guys are going to be featured because of the new partnership on the same network as the Vampire Diaries and Penn and Teller's Fool Us, which are two shows that people at this station regularly watch or at Impact Media regularly watch. It is up to you to guess who watches what.
Yeah, CW definitely getting into the sports realm. We've kind of talked about that, off the podcast that they've got this. They're looking at taking the Xfinity Series in NASCAR, and and definitely getting into more and more sports. So it's a good little partnership, good little different look. So
Maybe
we
they
good to
should
watch.
pick. Maybe they should pick up this show. I'm down for that. We can even combine them. We can talk about Georgia Tech and the Xfinity series all at once. I mean, I'm good with that.
Yeah, it works.
But
That's up with
that
the
game
Xfinity.
upcoming, yeah. Wake Forest is only a 4-point favorite in that, which tells you exactly what we just said, that it's a very winnable game. I think if you play at least 2/3, if not probably 80% the way you did this week, at least play that good, you're probably going to beat Wake Forest.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things we need to look at in some of their strong areas. We've got to step up that run defense again, like we kind of talked about. I guess allowing Jackson Dart to run around so much, we definitely need to kind of step that up. We are last in the ACC in run defense, and Wake Forest ground game is going to be one of those things that they're going to look at, one of the key matchups for this game. So we'll definitely want to kind of key in on that.
Yep.
Pardon the pun there.
Yeah, we'll have to key in on that. Yeah. I see what you're doing there. Well, like I said, 6:30 kickoff on that one on Saturday. I should be home in time to see that. I have to fire that one up. So let's kind of finish up. We only got a handful of minutes left in the show. If we have time, we'll get to more. I didn't know if you had any headlines or anything you wanted to get into. I just want to float this theory. We've talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about the state of Alabama, not the actual state, but the state of the program, and also
Yeah.
about Deion Sanders, because the way Deion's building a program there, he doesn't want to go to the NFL. He's more geared towards college and development. That's fine. Um, my thing is, I've always said that I think Saban coaches this year and he coaches next year, and then it starts to be almost a 50-50 coin flip after that. I think no more than next year or the year after, no more than 2 to 3 years. But at some point, Deion is going to build up to where he's going to get a bigger, better job. If it lines up right, do you think Deion could do anything in Alabama?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's too much of, you got a dynasty player with a dynasty kind of team. I mean, Nick Saban fits well because he's that different, approach. He's that, you know, seems like the guy that you could walk up on the street, and if you didn't know who he was, he'd just be your normal regular guy. I mean, he has that kind of look and feel to him. We all know. I mean, we've seen him on the fields, and we know who he is and what he stands for. John, I don't know. He brings a lot of hype with, I mean, his name, who he was, and brought in a lot to Colorado, who was an ailing team from last year. Brings in, his kids and does what they need. I don't know that it would be a good fit personally. I think that you may want to, if Nick Saban does go, you want to maybe have someone who's been in the system. Because, I mean, we've all seen what his assistants can do once they leave Alabama. I mean, what could one of them do if they took over Alabama?
Well, two names come to mind. It's the two that's been rumored to potentially take over for years if Saban ever hung it up, and it never seemed like he was going to hang it up. But he doesn't want to be Joe Paterno. he doesn't want to literally pass
Right.
away while being the head coach. I do think he's going to want to move on here soon. Regardless of how the program's doing, even if they're booming, I think at some point he's just going to say, I've done more than enough. But the two names, real quickly,
Yeah.
um, Lane Kiffin, obviously, is one of his former assistants, as you said, and Lane taking over. That kind of makes sense. And then obviously Dabo Sweeney is the other one that you hear those two names when you talk about who's going to take over. And I kind of agree, both of them kind of fit it way more. If Dion gets a bigger gig, it would be like Miami, or it's got to be a slightly flashy school, but still has that tradition.
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't know if someone like Dabo would want to leave what he's got in Clemson. Um, I mean, maybe down the road, but I think he's done well there in Clemson and what they've been able to do in the last several years. Um, I know I shouldn't be bragging on Clemson since they are technically one of our rivals in the ACC. I know we've always said that the good, the bad, the ugly. We're the good. Georgia's the bad. The Clemson's the ugly. But he's done well there, and I don't know, it's just weird fit. And Lane Kiffin is one of those ones that always has that like people either you like him or some people. I mean, there's people on both sides of that. They really like him or they really don't like him, and they might not want that down in Alabama, but I think he would still fit. I agree with you there. But I mean, I did just see how that kind of plays out.
Well, I don't know about you. We'll do it real quickly.
Or it could just
Uh,
be someone who's in the system.
yeah, it could be somebody we never thought of. I mean, Kirby would have obviously been a choice, but now he's running the new Alabama up here in Athens. But I'm definitely a person who is a big
Yep.
fan of Lane Kiffin. I don't know about you. I'm a big fan of Lane Kiffin. I think that'd be a good fit, even though I'm not much of an Alabama fan. We'll have to see how it kind of goes. It's the college landscape is changing every day between NIL and all this other stuff. So we're just gonna have to kind of stay tuned and see what happens. And speaking of that, that's going to do it for Up with the White and Gold. Appreciate you guys staying tuned and staying in on all of our shows. We are out of time, so we will catch you guys next week for GA Tech John Watts. I am Jeremy, the Impact York. We will see you guys next week. Let's get a Go Tech.
Go Jackets.